Okay, everybody, I think we are ready to go. Welcome, everybody. I'm Jeff Spalletta. I am the not quite as new as I was a month ago Fedora Project leader. And this is my first Fedora release party where I was actually here for the entire release process, unlike the last one where I literally showed up like a couple of days before the release party. So, welcome everybody. I am actually really excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to hearing people talk about the work that they've put into the release this time. Because I don't do any of the work. I just get to lead this community, but it's really about the contributors and what they're doing to make the distribution and to make the user experience better for everybody, right? So we're going to hear from a number of people today. Let me check the schedule real quick. I think first up, we have some communication about. I think I'm back. We had a small technical issue there. Um, so like I was saying, I think we're going to do some announcements first before we get into it. While Justin is working on the technical issues on his side, I will take over for a little bit. First announcement that I want to make sure everyone's aware of: we have elections are open for this cycle, and I would really want everyone who is considering to run for the available leadership seats to really think about it. And if you haven't run before, but you've you've won an opportunity to represent the contributor base, then this is your chance. I would love to see some new faces show up for and stand for election. I think that would be great. It's always great to have more candidates than there are seats, so we can have a good discussion about what different perspectives are. Right. I actually think the interview process and what leads to election is as important as what gets elected, because that is a good discussion about where interests are and who wants to stand for leadership. Like I've said in my opening talk at Flock, I actually look at this project as being at a generational change. Like this is a 20-year-old thing. My hair color is indication of that, and it's good for us to start think about mentoring contributors up into leadership roles, and that also means making a space to have people do things like FESCO or council who are new, and so that we can mentor them up into effective leaders. So I wanted to, now that Justin's here, I wanted to give him the rest of the opportunity to do announcement. I just wanted to say that the elections, I think, are super important, and I want to just call that out. Justin?
Awesome, thanks. Turns out sometimes using the browser you think is the right browser is not the right one. I did have a couple of slides that I put together really quick, but for announcements, let me see if this will come through. Is this screen visible? Perfect. So I won't repeat any of the welcome here because I'm sure Jeff already did an awesome job kicking it all off. As you already know, me and Jeff will be your hosts for today's release party. Some quick reminders: Fedora does have a code of conduct, and this is something that is really important for when we show up in spaces, virtual, in person, anywhere. I encourage folks to check that out and refamiliarize yourself with it as we get going with the event. There are a few announcements. I think Jeff mentioned the elections already. I did also want to make a call out to the Flock to Fedora call for proposals. Is going to be opening in the next couple of weeks. You may have already heard that Flock is going to be coming next June to Prague, again in the Czech Republic. There's more information about our annual contributor conference Flock on the Fedora magazine, but do keep an eye out for that as there will be more information to come. Another quick shout out: we've had a long time trusted partner for producing high quality Fedora apparel and clothing. Hello Tux is a small business in Hungary, and they're dedicated to producing Linux branded apparel from all of your favorite distros and upstream projects. We've partnered with Hello Tux to provide high quality embroidered Fedora t-shirts, Fedora polo shirts, Fedora sweatshirts, and more. And you can check out their web store at the QR code here. And listen carefully for this little insider tip. If you use the coupon code Fedora5, all one word, you can get a 5% discount on any Fedora item. So those are really all the quick announcements off the bat. These are always a fun time for me to celebrate all the hard work that goes into creating a new release of an operating system every 6 months. And, sometimes I don't know people realize how much work that goes into that, not just from, of course, from an engineering perspective and from a release engineering perspective, but also from even a non-engineering perspective. And, Jeff and I get to be in this really unique position where we get to, of course, try to shepherd and do some of the driving of it, but really we get to see a lot of the awesome work, the stuff that's visible, the stuff that's behind the scenes. And these release parties to me are always a great opportunity to really celebrate the people, the community, the friends that make Fedora the community and the project that it is. So thank you all for being here with us today and for going through some of the AV debugging live stream challenges. It's a bright early start here in the US Eastern. I know for some of you folks, we have folks coming in from nighttime, from afternoon. So wherever you're joining us from, thank you so much for being here. And I think now we can go ahead and officially kick off, start the party. Anything else that I missed there, Jeff? Because I had my browser debugging issues, so I missed all your remarks actually.
No, I think that's it. I just waxed eloquent about elections while you. I did a little tap dance while you got situated. But I think we're ready to go to the first speaker, and I believe, is this a pre-recorded item or just live? I think it's live.
So I'm just going to pop open the schedule here. And maybe while I'm getting that open, we've got some really exciting content all morning here, or all day. I think up next, we're going to have first the installer web UI for live spins from Martin Coleman. So let me see if Martin is... I don't see him here yet on the stream. But while we wait, if someone can maybe see if he's been able to access the link to the stream. Other topics that you're going to hear about today, there is a schedule on the wiki, if you have not seen that already. And we have content such as, from the things that you will typically see as releases from Fedora. We have some updates on the Fedora Workstation 43. We have an update on kind of what's new in the Atomic desktops, which you might know as Silverblue and Kinoite. We've also got some kind of behind the scenes topics throughout the day, including talking about Packit as some of the distribution Git CI, which is also related to the topic of Forgejo, our forthcoming new Git Forge that is eventually going to unify all the Git forges from Pagure and GitHub and GitLab. So you'll hear a little bit about some of our infrastructure. You'll also hear from different change owners who submitted changes during the Fedora 43 release cycle, such as the Wayland-only GNOME change, the 2G boot partition change, and kind of the story of why that was an emergency change in Fedora Linux 43. And you'll also hear from some leaders of some other community teams, such as the Fedora Docs team, about this new community initiative that's going on and some work to revitalize and launch kind of a new phase for the Fedora Docs community. So I'll check and see if we have Martin Coleman here, but I still don't see him in the chat here. Let me see if I can make sure he has the link to join here.
Actually, this might be the situation where we had a last minute switch out, and this is Robert Wright's pre-recorded video segment, if you have that available.
This is one of the pre-recorded.
Yeah, while he's looking that up, and I believe the Matrix has confirmed that this is the Robert Wright video segment as a backup. So while Justin's getting that together, I can do a little tap dance. For everyone who doesn't know, I just committed to buying a house, and I'm in the process of moving again from the apartment I've been living in Virginia after moving from Alaska. So I'm now firmly situated, and this is the last time I will be on a video from this apartment office room thing, and then I'll finally have like a real setup with an office I actually enjoy. So some little bit of personal news. It's been a hectic couple of weeks for me as we close and then dealing with the movers and stuff. So Justin, did you find the video?
I do have the link, and it looks like Restream has changed some of their configuration here. So before, we used to be able to pop a YouTube video into the stream, but it looks like now I have to upload the video.
Well, maybe if the next person is in the schedule is ready now, maybe we can move on and just flip.
Do a little swap.
Do a little swap.
So I believe that next topic would be the Packit talk from František. And I do see František in the backstage. František, do you want to give me a thumbs up if you're ready to come on up to the live stage? All right. Well, we're going to do a quick little schedule swap. So we're going to have a live presentation from František, and it's going to talk about Packit as the Fedora distribution Git CI platform of choice. So with that, we'll go ahead and transition over. We'll bring František up, and you'll be seeing me and Jeff throughout the release party. Hey, František.
Hello. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Just a quick check.
Yes. looks good to me. I think
Nice.
from here, the stage is yours.
Okay, so hello everyone and welcome. I'm František, as mentioned. I usually tend to skip the who am I slide, but this time I think it's quite relevant, so I'll quickly go through that. Okay, so I'm newly for 2-3 months, newly officially product owner for PT group, so which stands for packaging and testing experience. So it sounds official, but actually it's covering like Packit, testing farm, Cooper, TMT, and all the various acronyms and projects I hope you know and like. So what it means. No, please don't stop like filling upstream issues and other normal stuff we are used to for open source projects. But the thing is that if you have like some high level ask or question to check, or maybe a bunch of projects to onboard, let me know. So we can discuss that maybe and move that forward. And also, another benefit of that is we are getting these projects maybe closer together, maybe more integrated. So for you, the user, we can act as a unified solution, and you don't need to go through all the single pieces of this workflow. So it's usually that like there is a Packit job running actually a Cooper build and testing farm job, and under the hood there is a TMT definition, and the user is usually like confused, like where is the problem? So we are trying to maybe polish that, so you don't need to do the ping pong around the like issue trackers and matrix channels, etc. So yeah, hopefully this will make more sense to later on. Okay, finally to the agenda. So I'm here to talk about the Packit as a Fedora dist-git CI, what's the current state, and what's planned, and maybe few plans related to that. So for those who don't know what Packit is, we are trying to get upstream, meaning the like GitHub, GitLab closer to downstream, and this mainly for us mean Fedora. We do this by two things. By providing an upstream CI. So for your GitLab project, you can configure various like RPM related jobs like Cooper Koji builds, testing farm runs, or running tests in a VM that has these artifacts installed. There are OpenScan hub checks available and also an image builder available. On the other hand, you can also opt in to automate your package. So maybe for the simpler ones, let's say that does not need so many like manual interventions, you can configure automatic releasing, so you will get a dist-git pull request whenever there is an upstream release, and also automatic Koji build when there is a dist-git commit, and later on you can have a automatic body update. Newly, we have something new, and that's the dist-git CI. So for the Fedora dist-git pull request, Packit provides a couple of jobs functionality, and unlike the previous two, this is for all the projects, similarly to Fedora CI. The reason why we are doing this is that we thought that this is an important piece of the distribution, and we can possibly do that. So why not help here? So now we have this like opt-in solution. You can like put a configuration file into your project and have some functionality from Packit. Here we are providing like a replacement for the current solution. So this will run out of the box basically, and there will be like, or there is a Koji scratch build. On top of that, there are tests being run either from your package specific tests, and also a couple of generic ones like installability, RPM inspect. Okay, so for the skeptical ones, what's staying? This is just a swap, like from the start, this is just a swap of the Git-Forge integration. So we'll still use Koji scratch build, we'll still use testing farm to run the jobs, and still use the TMT for the test definition. So that's the easy part. What's changing or hopefully improving is that we would like to have a bunch of people really having time and assigned to that, so improving that, and because we believe that that's a like important part of the distribution to have a solid functioning CI, and there are various pieces moving around, and that's also why I'm glad that we have like we are close to the testing farm team and TNT, etc., so we can hopefully do some improvement there. Also, we count with the Forgejo support, more about that later, but we count that when there is a switch of the dist-git Forge, Packit will be prepared for that. Also, we have a long-term relation to testing farm, so I hope we can provide maybe more advanced behavior or experience for you. So this is the plan, a bit changed, so I'll quickly comment through that. So the functionality wise, we have everything done. So there are scratch builds running, installability check, and also user-defined tests. So we are currently mainly waiting for the like final switch. And I usually try to be really honest, and here we needed to postpone the whole change by the Fedora cycle by half a year. And this wasn't because we weren't ready, but because most of the Packit team were focused on internal projects, and despite the functionality was done, we agreed that this is a not good thing to do to like switch the dist-git CI and then don't have time for it. So we are postponing that now. We should have like more time so we can like polish the solution and also develop that actively. So there is actually like improvement on the state. So that's the reason why we are postponing this. Currently, we are targeting end of January to do the final switch, and these weeks we are deprecating the Fedora Sultan, and more about that on the next slide. And
hey, Fedora friends, my name is Robert.
We have finally the recording. I'm not sure if Justin can pause it. Maybe yes. Okay, nice. Glad that we are prepared for the next one. Yeah, and we originally wanted to do a few infrastructure-related parts, but agreed that this is not user-facing, so we won't block this on these, but still something we are looking for. So regarding the Fedora Sultana deprecation, we are in close contact with Fabian and others from the team. So we started, or I'm speaking we, but mainly the Christian Lee that did the great job here. He provided like these Zoo checks to as a TNT plan, so Packit can use them. So currently we have RPM inspect and RPM lint, and also installability available through Packit. And now we are working on the automatic migration. So all the current Zoo users will just have the experience switched, but without any human intervention. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so a lot of speaking about why to try now before the actual switch is there. You can actually add your project to this Packit configuration, so you can add the add your project there, and this will be like an opt-in solution. So you will start receiving the statuses from Packit. This will not stop the other services providing the results to you. When there is a hard switch on January or beginning of February, this will be just automatic. No manual change needed. So please try it and give us feedback so we can improve before this is enabled for everyone. If you want to know more, there is a packit.dev/Fedora CI page covering like what's running, how to enable that with the links, etc. So hopefully that might come in handy. So next steps. What I really like to do is to have a one place where we are discussing like what generic checks like these RPM lints, installability, or like what checks are running, or how they are implemented, etc. So currently this is tied into the Packit code base, but with Christian we are planning like how to have a separate Git repository that has a list of these checks, and anyone can propose a new check, and there is a discussion. So I would like to really open the discussion on like what these generic checks are. Okay, as mentioned, move to Forgejo. The implementation is currently being worked on, so we are prepared, and we count that once the dist-git is moved, we will be moved. And later, there was also a couple of asks that we might provide also like upstream-like solution for any Forgejo projects, either under the same Git Forgejo instance, or maybe like a Codeberg or elsewhere. So not a priority, but still something we can quite easily do once we have the dist-git part available. So people can use this, but maybe if they need some more tweaking, these actions, Forgejo actions might be better, but still an option we would like to provide. Okay, and a couple of integrations here, and another thing that where the relation of the projects play a role. The log detective team currently is working on the integration of log detective to dist-git PRs, so something that can enhance the Fedora CI a bit. Short, it's like a AI-based log analysis when there is a build failure. It currently works on CentOS but we think that it makes more sense to have it directly in Fedora. So, and still discussion, like if you would like to use the built-in model, like that the people contributed to, based on the data people contributed to log detective, or a different one. So a lot of discussions there. Don't want to spend much time on that, but something that's moving on, and the implementation is already in progress. And same, the OpenScan Hub integration, Siteshwar is working on integrating the SAST, so static analysis for the new code getting there. And really, the next, there are a lot of questions people want from us, either various like gating solutions or a lot of stuff, but we still need to like match the current solution, and then we can think about what to provide next. We really want to improve, but for now we just want to switch the CI solution, and then we can continue on like moving forward from there. So that's all for me. Feel free to reach out, and yeah, hopefully this whole change makes sense, and it will be for a better.
Hey, thanks for that. I think we now have a chance to check in on Matrix and see if there's some questions. If there are questions, please ask them in the Release Party Matrix channel, and I will see if I can make sure I speak on camera for you. I'm not, unless I am blind, I'm not seeing any questions. You're not seeing any questions either, right? Yeah.
No, but if there is any later on, I'll be around.
Oh.
So feel free.
Oh, okay. Here's one. Just how can the community help and participate right now?
That's a really good one. Shortly, try it, provide feedback. That's the best one. But if you want to really like do some coding, there is a Python library we are developing to have like a GitForge independent APIs called Ogre. I can send a link. So there are a couple of things that still needs to be implemented, and it's actually a thing that anyone can use to have be prepared for the switch, since there is a pager implementation. So prepare the code, any script for the switch. So that's probably if you want to play with the Python code.
Great. Yeah, having a library to help with that migration is a fantastic thing. So I think that's it. Thank you for the talk. I believe we're going to jump over to the pre-recorded session now. Justin, if you're ready, please remove me from the camera, and we can do Robert's video now.
Hey, Fedora friends. Today we're going to look at a new feature in Fedora 43 that's been rolled out to all editions and spins, called the Anaconda Web UI. Now, previously, when users installed Fedora onto their devices, they would see a GTK-based application where Anaconda would present the options to the user to install Fedora onto their local device. As of Fedora 43, this has now been replaced with a web-based user interface that allows for more innovation to happen more rapidly on the Anaconda experience. The hope being is that as new users are interacting with Fedora for the first time, it's simple. Hey Fedora friends, my name is Robert Wright, and today we're going to look at a new feature in Fedora 43 that's been rolled out to all editions and spins, called the Anaconda Web UI. Now previously, when users installed Fedora onto their devices, they would see a GTK-based application where Anaconda would present the options to the user to install Fedora onto their local device. As of Fedora 43, this has now been replaced with a web-based user interface that allows for more innovation to happen more rapidly on the Anaconda experience. The hope being is that as new users are interacting with Fedora for the first time, it's simpler to install on their devices. So I hope as you see today's demonstration that you'll also see the benefits that it's going to be able to provide to new users. So from here, I have on the screen a Fedora 43 Workstation live image that I booted up on a virtual machine. So right away, I'm going to go ahead and select Install Fedora Linux. And of course, if I just want to use the live image, I can click Not Now and just dive right in. But let's go ahead and install Fedora onto this image here. I'll also see my great new wallpaper. Thank you to Madeline Peck and the rest of the design team. This really great new design for Fedora 43. And while this boots up here, in the background, with the launch of this new web user interface, it's actually going to render a Firefox process that's going to boot this web interface. So while it's happening here, the browser is actually rendering in the background and getting us set up. One of the things that you'll notice right away is that it's actually localized the experience. I'm actually based in Amsterdam, and so for me, the local language default being Netherlands makes a lot of sense. But for today's video, let's go ahead and change this to United States English. So I'm just going to pick United States English here. Awesome. So now the web interface has changed, and everything will now be presented in English. Of course, you can change the locale to match your regional settings, and I recommend that you pick the experience that makes the most sense for you. You can change your keyboard options just like you have before, and when we click Next, we're then going to be taken to the most important page, which is deciding how we want to install Fedora onto this device. Now, previously in Anaconda, you did have a lot of options to be able to pick where and how you want to install Fedora onto the device. Here, we have a couple of options that are pretty simple for our users. We'll let them know that, hey, if you want to do the default, which is let's share Fedora if there's another operating system detected, or if you're ready to go all in and say, hey, I don't need that other operating system anymore, I just want Fedora Linux, I can also select use entire disk. For most new users, the recommended default that's pre-selected is to share with the other operating system. And it's actually detected that I have another partition set up. That means that I can pull from to potentially install Fedora on. It's letting me know that there's not enough free space at the moment, and if we do want to move forward, we're going to need to free up some space on my disk drive for me to complete the installation. So if I click Next, I'm actually going to be shown a list of my partitions that I have. And at the moment, I have one NTFS partition, so I have another OS there. And if I want to borrow from the free space that's available on that partition, I can resize from the screen as well. For demonstration purposes, this is an empty partition, so I can pull from the entire partition, but let's go ahead and assume that I only want to drop down by 10 gigabytes here. So I'll say 10, click resize, click reclaim space, done. And that's it. The next step is just to be able to select the method that I would like to use to encrypt my device if I'd like to. Especially for laptops and maybe a desktop computer, this may make a lot of sense to you. So it depends on your use case, and I always tell folks is hey, pick what matters most to you. I like to encrypt my drives personally, so I'm just going to go ahead and enter a passphrase here. And of course, I've set my default keyboard layout to US English since I'm using a US English keyboard, but users should select what's defaults to them. And again, it's picking that up from my earlier options in the installation process as well. All right, I can already tell on the left-hand side that I only have one more step left. So this is pretty easy. All I got to do now is click Next, and I'll be taken to my review page. From here, users will be given the options to see what changes Fedora is going to make when Anaconda runs the installation on the device. So they'll see is we're going to resize from 20 gigabytes down to 10, and we're also going to set up the other partitions that are needed to install Fedora onto the machine. If the user's ready to go, all they have to do is click I understand and click install. And of course, for power users, if you want to make more advanced customizations to your partition layouts, you can click back and back again to the installation method page. And in the top right-hand corner, you can click on these three dots and access the storage editor. The storage editor will provide a much more powerful console to edit the disk drives. However, it is something that's more advanced, and when changes are made, they happen instantly. So if I make changes to this drive, and if I need to make a more advanced partition layout, I can do that using the interface. But of course, again, for power users, this may be a little bit more something when you want to control your disk drives, and maybe not the best default for a new user. So again, I'm just going to go back. We're going to continue as we did before. I'm just going to change this back to that 10. resize, reclaim, keep my passphrase. And since we picked those options, I'm going to click I understand and go ahead and click install. And that's it. In the background, Anaconda is going to now run and complete the disk installation changes that are needed to make the partitions on the new drive, as well as start the software installation and the rest of the configurations for the bootloader. Everything to the user now is just a let's sit and wait, and it should be done. In fact, in timing, as I've done this video, I found it takes about 10 minutes or so to complete that process. So it's pretty quick. Get a cup of coffee, bite to eat, you come back and you have Fedora installed on your device. While this runs, let's take a look in the background at what this change looks like. So I have here the change as it is on Fedora Discussion, and I really recommend for users, if you've not checked this out already, on Fedora Discussion, every change that is being proposed to Fedora Linux, including into the future, are all available on here. So if you select here, you can actually see changes that are happening out in Fedora 44, and even Fedora 45 are starting to appear in as well. This is a great resource to see what the community is saying about changes, and if you're interested in getting involved in how Fedora is shaped in the future, this is a great spot to do it. But let's go back. So this change here was presented originally back in May. You can actually see from the change conversation, May 6th is when it was originally proposed by Katerina and the Anaconda team. And they've indicated what the change was going to be involved with. So again, how it interacts with the different spins and of course the different additions, and letting the community at large know, hey, this is something that's coming and something we'd like to propose, and ultimately submit it to FESCO and get approval for it to be implemented as a part of the Fedora 43 release. So for new users, if you've not been involved in our change process, these are great places to learn more about what's upcoming in Fedora's future and to help participate in that conversation. For many of you who have been longtime Fedora contributors, you may already know this is here, and of course are involved in different mailing lists as well as Fedora Discussion where these conversations are occurring, but we always want to encourage our users who are looking at these to take a look at this here as well. And if you want to know more about this change, I really recommend you do a deep dive within this conversation, within the Fedora Discussion forum. And if you're interested in getting involved with the actual Anaconda web installer, the GitHub repository, I'm just going to pull that open here so you can take a look. Here it is online. It's just under RH installer as an organization and Anaconda Web UI. They have installation information here that lets you know how you can jump in and just start hacking. There's actually a documentation of how to do tests as well. So again, it's a really great repo if you want to take a look at how Fedora and how different Linux distributions install onto a device. And of course, using Anaconda as that mechanism to do that. So this is going to continue to run here in the background. It's going to take a little bit of while to finish up the rest on this device here. But for today's video, we won't quite get to finish that. But I did want to take this opportunity to showcase how this installation now looks for users and how that experience has changed. One other benefit that the Anaconda team has done by implementing this is that now that it is a web-based application, it is a little easier to make changes and introduce new developers into this process. And since it borrows from some of the Cockpit framework that's already been built out there to manage Linux devices, there's a lot more that can be added into this to help make this process even better in the future. So I really recommend for folks who are looking at this for the first time, especially since this is one of the earliest points users will interact with Fedora Linux, this is a great entry point if you're looking to get involved in some part of the project. I myself, when I first learned way back when I was a little kid, I struggled with installing Linux. I didn't understand what it meant to do a swap space or how I needed to partition my drive. And now today in 2025, it's just a matter of a few clicks and I have Fedora installed on the device and I'm ready to go. So I'd say all around, it's a great part of the release, and hats off to the Anaconda team, and thank you so much to them for all of the work that they've done to make this a part of the release. All right, that's it from me. I'm going to let this finish up installing, and I'll have Fedora 43 up and running in no time. Enjoy the rest of the release party, and thank you.
Hello. I think we are back. Justin got things working again. So I'm going to hand this over to Peter, and he's going to talk about Fedora docs, I believe. Is that what we're ready to do? Let's do a mic check real quick, make sure I can hear you.
1, 2, 3, mic check.
Yeah, great. So I'm going to put myself off, and I'll hand it over to you.
All right, Justice.
Looks like Justin just needs to get your screen share up, and you'll be ready to go. Or we can talk a little bit while Justin gets ready.
Yeah, sorry, I've got a million windows over here, and I thought I had everything prepared, and now I'm just juggling them.
There we go. Okay.
Awesome. All right, so hi everyone. Hello, Fedora release party. I hope you're enjoying yourselves. My name is Petr Bokoč. I also have Peter Boy here with me, and I'm from the Fedora documentation team, and I'm here to talk to you about our new initiative that we've started, well, fairly recently, about a month ago. So we refer to the initiative as flattening the roller coaster. We originally talked about this at Flock in June, if you were lucky to be there. We also got an article written about it on LWN.net, which was kind of surprising. And yeah, it's been accepted by the council as a formal initiative about a month ago. The term roller coaster that we're trying to flatten refers to this trend in Fedora documentation where at one point there's a lot of interest and participation goes up, and then people get bored and it goes down and back again, but back up again and back down again. And it keeps going on and on. I've been in Fedora docs personally for 12 years, so I've seen this cycle happen several times. And what we're trying to do is get rid of this cycle and establish basically a lasting, continuous group of contributors. So what's the plan? One thing we want to do is to promote documentation to other Fedora communities, which means that we would like to convince a bunch of other people to start thinking of documentation, because a lot of people just don't really. So when they're, I don't know, a packager packages some major new update to something, we would like them to think about the impact on users and maybe talk to us or write documentation for us for, so that people can actually read what the changes are, and so they don't have to fish it out of forums and change logs. We would like to hopefully establish some working groups. This is basically something that is similar to already existing SIGs. So these 2 points kind of tie together in that, maybe let's make the SIGs themselves think about documentation when they're doing their usual jobs and planning for the future. A major point that we would like to wrangle is that we would like to lessen barriers to entry for new contributors, because this has been a massive problem historically. Somebody shows up maybe on our matrix or in the ancient times on our mailing list and asks, "Hey, I'd like to contribute. What do you want me to do?" And well, we basically tell them, yeah, go over there to GitLab or Pagure, clone this repo and that's where it ends, because it's like this kind of stuff is wildly intimidating to people who aren't already used to it, right? And like the problem here is that we can't get rid of Git, really. So that's going to continue to be this specter haunting us forever. But we can at least make this process, soften the blow, let's say, like make it as easy to onboard new people as possible. So that's something we would really, really like to focus on. And also site structure. Yeah, that's been a long-running problem, because we have a lot of documentation on docs.fp.org, and it's a lot of that stuff resembles the junkyard, right? Somebody drives the truck in and dumps a bunch of stuff in there, and it just lays there, and nobody can actually find it. And we would also like to do something to improve our tooling. We have, let's say, limited opportunities here, but we'll try to do what we can, which involves moving as many of our repositories as we can to Forgejo, and yeah, updating Forgejo so that it can do ASCII-doc previews, so that when somebody submits a pull request, we can actually see what's in it, like what it's going to look like when it's published, right? Because the documentation isn't WYSIWYG, so it can be difficult to visualize, especially when there's something more complicated than just a couple of paragraphs or text and maybe a list. And local authoring tools, we would like to have like let's say, a recommended setup for, and this is especially important for new contributors, right? Because if you already know what you're doing, there's no issue if you're using Vim or Nano or carving documentation into clay tablets and then using AI to digitize it. Nobody cares. But when somebody completely new comes in, we want to be able to recommend them, like, install this text editor, get these plugins, set them up this way, so that yeah, they have some sort of authoritative way to get started, I suppose. And we would also like to hold regular meetings. We used to do this a very, very long time ago. We stopped at least 5 years ago, probably even more. And this kind of stuff is always difficult because, people live in, we have contributors from all over the world, and getting somebody from India and Europe and the United States, for example, into the same matrix room at the same time is pretty challenging, and always has been and always will be. But we would like to at least try, because holding regular meetings is going to be, it's going to give some structure to like our workflow, I suppose. Yeah, there's a lot more that we would like to do, and the initiative page on the wiki has all of it. After this talk ends, I'm going to paste some links into chat on Matrix, so you can check them out. So don't worry about the links in this presentation. So now, what are we going to do next? The immediate task right now is to come up with an actionable plan for the next 3 months. This is kind of the next 3 months are going to be a bit challenging because, Christmas is in like a month. So most people will be gone for, let's say, at least 2 weeks. But even then, we should be able to get at least something done. We would like to have an activity day on Matrix, just online, not in person or anything like that, where as many of us as possible. And by us, I don't mean the docs team, but hopefully also people who don't normally contribute to docs, but maybe are interested in starting or in helping us, helping this initiative move along. We'll sit together and just brainstorm and do stuff at the same time. Yeah, we also have contributor documentation, and it's very thorough, which is kind of an issue actually, because it's the same problem that we keep running into, where a new contributor joins and we tell them, yeah, okay, go check out this documentation that we have, and there's a lot of it, so it's intimidating and it drives people away. So we would like to either simplify it to a great degree, or come up with something like a quick start guide, maybe, just a single page that explains very general concepts in a very basic way. Yeah, Forgejo migration, because currently our repositories are scattered. The documentation site is about 60 repositories currently, and they're divided between Pagure. Some are on GitLab, some are on GitHub even. So we would like to move all of them to the new Forge, or at least as many as possible, because some of them belong to other teams and SIGs, and ultimately it's going to be up to them. Yeah, and we currently don't have any tracking repositories that some SIGs have, that are just for tickets. Like Council has one of those, for example, Mindshare, and so on. So we'll be setting those up soon. And yeah, the migration, I'm going to be the person doing that, and I'll start with probably the release notes actually, because that repository won't see much traffic until shortly before the next release. So that's going to give us some time, like undisturbed time. And now, the most important part of this presentation: how can you help? Join our matrix room. That's like the absolutely most basic thing you can do, and it costs you nothing, and it's fun. We have a tag on the Fedora discussion forums, so, and also we will be using the forums much more than we previously have, because right now, as part of the initiative, we're going to need to discuss a whole bunch of things. So please show up and let us know what you think or what you would like us to do, or how we can make contributing to docs more accessible to you. Yeah. And also, if you're feeling like doing something more hands-on, go check out the QuickDocs repo, which it's definitely the most active documentation repository that we have currently. And it has a bunch of tasks in the issues section that are fairly simple and short, right? So it's not the type of task like write an entire huge chapter about how to configure grep or how to set up NVIDIA drivers or something like that. There's a lot of stuff there that should be maybe 30 minutes or something like that. So go check that out if you want. Try to contribute, try to open a PR. And most importantly, as you're doing it, if you don't have any prior experience with contributing to docs, write down any roadblocks that you hit, anything that you don't like, anything that's counterintuitive, that sort of stuff, and then let us know what exactly, any problems that you find. Or also if everything goes perfectly well and you love the process, then please let us know as well. This is very important information for us. And finally, FOSDEM is a conference that takes place in Brussels, in Belgium, every year at the end of January. And we are planning to do an IRL meetup over there as part of CentOS Connect. So if you're in Europe, or even if you're somewhere further away and you can come, I would strongly recommend that you join us. And also, FOSDEM in general is an excellent conference. So yeah, come say hi and let's talk. And that's about it from me. Thank you very much. And are there any questions?
Yeah, thanks a lot for that. Let's see if there are questions in the channel. I'm not sure. I'm bad at scroll back, so. There is a little bit of back and forth about the best way to mentor people into different things in Fedora, which is an interesting discussion in Matrix. But I actually think that's just a larger discussion in general about how we collectively in different areas of work onboard people, because documentation is a specific skill set, right? It's not and you want to be mentored into that so you can be good at it, right? Just throwing people into that and is not necessarily the best way to sustain the effort. But I think that's in general about a lot of the work that goes on, right? Because ultimately, in my mind at least, I want SIGs to be self-sustaining, right? Like you are empowered to take responsibility for an area of work, but also that means that we need to find a way so SIGs can get people in and mentor them into their practices, and it's not just the packaging, right? The packaging's like the bits are the thing that we all see, but it's all the other things need to have their own processes, right, and their own mentoring. And so I guess the question becomes, you can't just take enthusiasm for the community and throw them at docs as an easy thing, because it is a skill set and we need to figure out a way to mentor into each area, right? So everyone feels like they're making progress, and the seasoned contributors feel like they're getting more hands to help with the workload, right? And that's the vision. So I think there's some discussion around that, and but I'm not seeing specific questions around the initiative. Maybe you can take a look in Matrix.
Yeah, I'm looking there right now, and it doesn't seem like anybody has any questions. So I'll see you on Matrix.
There's one late breaking. Is there any specific section of the quick docs you think needs the most love?
Yeah, the table of contents. Actually, that's the no, but that's more of a joke answer, because well, for one, we actually tried somewhat fix that, but the quick docs are exactly what I had in mind when I was talking about the garbage dump, right? Where people just keep piling on stuff, because it's the section of documentation where it's the easiest to scratch your own itch, right? You have a problem and then you figure it out and you want to share your solution. And so you just write a short article about it and publish it into Quick Docs, which is great. And thank you for your contributions. But what it ends up being this huge ball of not exactly cohesive documentation. So yeah, and generally we have the same problem even with the usage and customization is pretty much the dump section. And as Peter pointed out in chat, there's some documentation in QuickDocs on kernel and booting and grub and that sort of stuff. And a lot of that stuff is quite outdated, actually. Of course, the issue is that these are very highly technical topics with a lot of potential for disasters. So yeah, please help us and please contribute, but be careful so that we don't get an angry mob, because somebody deleted their entire system.
Okay, we can take this to Matrix, but we are running somehow we're now running a little behind. So thank you for the talk. I'm gonna move on to the next subject. If Justin can roll you off, here we go. And next up is Timothy, and he's going to be talking about the atomic desktops. And looks like you have some slides. Are you ready to put the slides on? Great. And I will roll myself off. Timmy, just do a mic check so we can hear you.
Yes, can you hear me?
Great. So I will roll myself off and take it away.
All right, thank you very much, Jeff, for the intro. All right, so we're going to look at what we have new in the Atomic desktops for this release. So let's start with what's new. We got a bunch of things that are coming with the rest of Fedora. So if you've followed the development of Fedora 43, we made two major changes. We compressed the init.d with LSTD. So now the init.d should be a little bit smaller, and your system should be booting a little bit faster. I don't have like exact numbers. It depends on hardware. It depends on a lot of things, but hopefully that helps a little bit. And the second change is that we increased the size of the /boot partition by default to 2 gigabytes. So that will help with init.d getting bigger and bigger. But of course, if you want to actually benefit from that, you need to install a fresh system. Okay, so then onto Atomic desktop specific things. We did two major changes. We added Boyagua tools to everybody's images. It makes it easier to debug anything happening wrong with your Boyagua setups. Hopefully you're still using the graphical interface to configure things, but you have the tools to debug if things go wrong. And we also removed plocate from all of the images. It's a daemon that wasn't getting that much use. All right, then a quick tour about the images we have. So Silverblue are main GNOME images. We got the latest GNOME releases, just like Fedora Workstation. You can see a lot of the changes are the same as we have in the Fedora Workstation article. And we did two specific things for the Atomic desktops. We added OpenSSL. It has been very, very, very common request to add that to support the GS Connect extension out of the box. That has now sorted out. Also probably going to add this one back to Fedora 42. So if you haven't had it yet, it's going to come soon. And for the installer, we removed the page that was causing hangs on the installer on the first installation process. So we removed the third-party page, and you will get asked about third-party software later when you open GNOME software. So this one is gone off for this bug here. If people want to take a look at this bug, like, and try and figure out why this was hanging so that we can add it back, that's very much welcome. Then if we take a look at Kinoite, our main KDE Plasma offering, we have everything updated. We launched on the release with Plasma 6.4 due to the timeline with the release, but the KDE has been very active, and we already are running on Plasma 6.5, which has been released approximately at the same time as the Fedora 43. So we got all the latest goodness here for you. And one specific thing coming with Kinoite is that we now have automatic updates enabled by default, and they are configured to apply weekly. So if you leave your system, you don't touch updates, Discover should apply updates weekly. So yeah, by default. Of course, you can turn that off. It's in the settings. You can change that to daily or whatever you want. Weekly is kind of like a good middle ground. Like generally, updates, you don't need to apply them daily, especially for the base system. It doesn't change that much. So weekly is a good thing. And then we have all of the changes for Sway, Budgie, and Cosmic. They are following their own desktop environment projects, and so they got the latest release from those, latest release from Sway, latest point release from Budgie. If you are waiting for the Wayland switch, it's going to happen hopefully for Fedora 44 for Budgie. And finally, Cosmic, they released a beta, and so we got the latest Cosmic beta in the Cosmic Atomic images. All right. So other things that are like not technically part of the release, but in progress and happening right now. So we are moving to the new Forge, to Forgejo, which hopefully will help us a lot on this front in terms of pull requests, in terms of like user interface. Should make things much easier to contribute. We're starting with the docs, then we'll go issue tracker, and then finally the sources at the end once we have some CI ready there. The unified docs, they've been good progress on those. So hopefully in the few weeks, months, we'll have the unified docs available. Please make sure that the docs cover your desktop. Take a look at those. There's still some things we haven't merged from, I think, from Sway, but hopefully it's coming along together, and we'll have all the desktop covered in a single doc, which will make things much easier and less painful to sync and help with contributions. Then another side thing that happened at the same time here, same timeline, is that we moved the CSX that I'm building for the Fedora desktops and Fedora CoreOS to a new home, a dedicated GitHub organization, and I split those between the things that we are building essentially only from Fedora and the things we are building from community sources, upstream packages, or other things. And the goal being that at one point we can move those CSX to be actually Fedora official CSX and build in somewhere in the Fedora infra, maybe in Conflux, maybe somewhere else, I don't know. We'll see exactly how that happens. But that's kind of like the idea here behind the split. And so if you want to try those and see if that works, it solves for like right now myself, I'm only using CSX. I'm not using layering anymore. And I think it solves a lot of problems for a good chunk of people on the Atomic desktops. So yeah, if you're feeling like layering is not satisfying for you, you should try out the CSX. There's still a manager in progress at the bottom here. It's not fully ready for use yet, but it's if you want to contribute to development, that's a good way to start, because it's very, very small and very beginning project. And then we have the unofficial bootable container image that I've been building for a while now, that are used by Universal Blue, notably. And I'm dropping the execute images because they have seen very, very little use. The XFT Atomic one have been saved at the last minute for this cycle, but they might be dropped for the next one. We'll see. To focus on the actual images we have the more users using. And if you are looking at the wider group, the wider ecosystems around the Atomic desktops, you can take a look at what's happening in Universal Blue. Bluefin, Aurora, Barzite, they are building images derived on the Fedora Atomic desktops and adding a lot of things in there, things we cannot do in Fedora for various reasons, and nice configuration improvements sometimes, etc., and other decisions. And so go take a look in there, especially useful if you have NVIDIA hardware, for example. It's much easier to use than what we have right now in Fedora. All right, so now what's next? The main thing, of course, is the same thing we've been talking for a while now. We want to move to bootable containers. We want to move that default. As a reminder, the only official supported version of the Fedora Atomic desktop right now is the OS3 ones. Everything bootable container is still in progress. The images are unofficial, and the builds, even the Fedora official builds, are not really ready for use. So we definitely need help from people that want to push this forward and help us do that. So we have Booty initiative, which is being restarted for the next year or two, I think, and we'll hopefully take part in that initiative as well. And we have a few things in progress. So we have starting to look at building those images via Conflux, which hopefully will help. And rebasing on top of the Bootsy images is like one of the big thing we will have to do. In the meantime, we are starting to do also other thing on the side. So one of the main things is that if you take a look at the technically, like all of these images, like you're building images, you're pushing them out to registry, and you're calling them. They have the Fedora logo, they have the Fedora release packages and all the things. And this is like technically not exactly Fedora compliant with the policy regarding the naming. So I'm working on building Fedora remix images so that you could have those as a base for building systems, bootable container systems, that you could use freely without having concerns about how do I switch out the logos, etc., and having to do all of the work for your own custom images. So it's something that's in the intersection of Fedora and outside of Fedora, and that I've been working on for some time now. And so yeah, stay tuned. They're not ready yet, but we'll progressively announce things there once things are in a better shape. And we also want to make progress on the future of the Atomic desktops in terms of bootable container images a little bit faster than what things have been happening right now. So we'll see what we can do. Hopefully, right now outside of Fedora, and with the goal of merging back into Fedora once things are ready. So yeah, stay tuned. Things are going to happen on this front soon. All right. So yeah, of course, we need contributors. If you want to help, we welcome all kind of help. If you want to go through the more details of what I've talked here, you can go and see at the Fedora magazine article, which has all the links and all the details about what I've talked about. And of course, you can reach us on all the channels, Matrix channels, the ones per desktop, etc. And hopefully soon everything will be on the new Forge, and we'll get rid of the rest. Thank you very much, folks.
Great. Let's see if there are questions in Matrix. I'm always terrible at scroll back, so I do love the fact that you are making use of the Fedora Remix sub area. I think that's great. I think that's underutilized, and any opportunity to use the Beefy Miracle generic logo package is a good opportunity. But that was a joke, right? So I am happy to see that the remix area is being used to expand the reach in a way that is sensitive to the logos and gives people more opportunity to use the output, right? That's not shackled by the trademark. So we had to, we just have to be sensitive about that. But the intent of that space is to give people the opportunity, and so that's fantastic. I'm not sure I'm seeing if there's a question in Matrix, please put it back up because I am terrible at scroll back. And if there aren't any questions, I'll give it 10 seconds because there's like 10 or 15 second lag in the Matrix, I believe, for the video. Thanks again, Timothy. That's a great talk. And I think we are probably back on schedule, or are we just a little late? I think we are just 15 minutes late, but we will roll over to the next speaker with the Workstation What's New talk. Hello, sir. If you could put your screen up.
Awesome. Thank you. I hope you can hear me. I'm Matthias. I've been participating in the Fedora Workstation working group for a long time, and for the 43 cycle, I was the chair of the working group. So my last job as the outgoing chair is to present an update on what's new and exciting in the Workstation in Fedora 43. So I'll start by repeating what I said the last time I gave this update, which is that I do a lot of my work in upstream GNOME. So a lot of the things I mention here will be centered around what happens in GNOME, but I'll try to include a few things that are not just GNOME specific. But I do want to say that I think having a very close relationship between upstream GNOME and Fedora is beneficial for both sides. We get a very polished and fresh desktop every release, and upstream GNOME gets a lot of testing and feedback from GNOME always being current in Fedora. So that's great on both sides. As I was preparing for this yesterday, I was looking to my notes and trying to find some theme to talk about today, but I couldn't really come up with any major headline. So the overall impression I got was of a well-running machine, both upstream and in Fedora. There's a lot of polish and small improvements, but no big headline change that I can talk about. I try to come up with some screenshots anyway. So let's see if I can figure out how to move to the next slide here. Thank you. I'll start by talking about a theme that has been going on for a little while. We are switching out applications with newer and more modern replacements. And the one that we replaced in Fedora 43 is the video player. We are introducing Showtime, which is a new video player that replaces the aging GTK3 code base of Totem. And Showtime takes advantage of the improvements in GTK with pass-through and offloading that are enabled by the GPU renderer of GTK. And at this point, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Robert Marder, who has been tirelessly improving video playback on Linux all the way up and down the stack, from the kernel drivers and APIs over GStreamer and GTK all the way into applications. Players like Showtime are possible today because of the great work that Robert has been doing over the past few years. So thanks for that. And maybe we can move to the next slide. I still haven't figured out how to do this. All right. So on the lock screen, we have a few comfort measures. Nothing major, and I hope you don't spend most of your day on the lock screen. But if you do, you can now see the media controls there. So you can switch to the next song when it's time for that. And we also allow you to reboot and power off your system from there. So that's a nice little improvement. And moving on to things that happened outside the user session, on the login screen, there's a new accessibility menu there that I try to take a screenshot of here. Improving accessibility has been a theme for the past few releases. We started by closing gaps in the accessibility support of Wayland. That's at this point largely done. Nevertheless, there's a continuing trickle of improvements to accessibility also inside the user session. They just usually don't make great screenshots because it's mainly about making sure that Orca is reading the right things as you key nav through applications. Moving on to other long-running topics, color management and HDR support for Linux and Wayland in particular has been a long time coming. The Wayland color protocols have finally been merged and implemented in most of the major compositors, and nowadays we're seeing releases of apps like Blender or Krita with HDR and color management in the headlines. So that's nice. On the desktop side, one thing that is new here in Fedora 43 is that Matter, the compositor, can now load and use desktop backgrounds with color space information. This was achieved by making it use Glycin for image loading. And to take advantage of this, some of the upstream GNOME backgrounds are using the display P3 color space now for a wider color gamut. You should try that out, and I'll let you be the judge whether it makes any difference. But it is there if you want it. Moving on to cleanups. We've been using Wayland by default in Fedora for quite a few years now, and the time has come to retire some of the old X11 support code. I believe that Neil and Michelle will talk in more detail about this later, so I'll limit myself to just mentioning that upstream, the removal of this old code is happening for GNOME 50, so we'll see it in the next Fedora release, and it is leading to significant cleanups in some places. For example, The GDM code base shrunk by around 40% just due to dropping X11 support. And I think that's nice because less code means less bugs. But it also gives space for doing new things. And I want to close by mentioning some more under the hood improvements that have found their way into Fedora 43. GNOME session is the component that orchestrates the user session. It's a service manager for your desktop, if you want to put it that way. But we already have a very capable service manager with systemd. So it was high time that we see if we can take advantage of systemd for managing the user session. And that's what we've done in Fedora 43. Hopefully this will enable us to take more advantage of systemd features in the session going forward. GDK Pixpuff is a very old and widely used image loading framework. It has seen its share of CVEs over the years. And coincidentally, I wanted to give a little personal anecdote here. Tracking down CVEs in GDK Pixpuff is one of the ways I got started in this space all the way back in 2002, tracking down a zlib double free issue by fuzzing GDK Pixpuff loaders. Hopefully, going forward, we'll see less CVEs here because we have replaced GDK Pixpuff's direct use of image libraries with Glycin, which is a new image loading framework that is written in Rust and is using out-of-process sandboxed image loaders. There have been some hiccups in this transition since GDK Pixpuff, as I said, is pretty widely used, and using Glycin under the covers introduces the use of new kernel APIs in places that were not necessarily prepared for that. But at this point, I think most things should work as before. Lastly, I can't help but mention that our emoji fonts are now using a different format. In the past, we were using a font format where the emoji were embedded as small PNG images at a fixed resolution in the font. And now we are using what's called color v1, where essentially every glyph is encoded as a little scene graph in the font. And color v1 is the name of the font table that contains these descriptions. And with that, I'm at the end of my list of small highlights. I hope you found something that you enjoy and you want to try these things out. If you are interested, I would also like to invite you to join us and participate in the Workstation working group. You can find us in this matrix room, and we also have weekly video meetings every Tuesday at 11 a.m. And that's all I wanted to present here today. Thank you for listening.
Great. I think there's one good question right at the bottom of the matrix channel, and I'm going to repeat it here. Is there a roadmap for things that are left to work on to bring accessibility for visually impaired people to a reliable place?
Don't know of an overall roadmap for that, but I know that we have a accessibility working group, people inside Red Hat who also, I think, have a matrix room in Fedora space. And they did recently complete something called an ACR, like a accessibility checklist, essentially, that follows the legal requirements and goes through all the bullet points of what you need to do to have an accessible product. And they are currently working on turning every issue that they found into an upstream issue to track these things. That might result in the end in something like a roadmap or a list of things to do. But I don't have a link handy for that. But I'd recommend just joining the relevant matrix channel and asking about it.
Great. So thanks a lot for the update talk. I think we are now rolling into a break. We are a little behind schedule, so I don't know how long we're going to break. I will let Justin make a decision on that. Thanks again. And let's see what's going on with the schedule.
Yeah, so just a quick update on the schedule. We're about we're not too far behind, but we're 7 minutes past our scheduled break time. So we're going to take a break for probably about 20-ish minutes. So for folks in US Eastern, that's going to be about 10 a.m. US Eastern. Or if you're on UTC time, that will be 1500 UTC. We'll be back from the break. So go get your breakfast, take a lunch break, take a coffee, work on that pull request, whatever you got to do. And we'll be back here in about 20 minutes. Thanks, folks. And we'll be, I'm sure there'll be lots of chatter in the Matrix channel as well. So we'll see you there. Hello. Excuse me. Hello, Fedora friends. We are slowly getting back and coming back from our break. I hope all of you had a chance to go and get your refresh, break, another cup of coffee, or first cup of coffee. Before I bring Jeff back up here to introduce our next speakers, I did just want to give a quick shout out to a lot of the folks who actually were behind the scenes helping pull this all together. We have the Fedora community operation, and there's lots of folks. This is one of the coolest things in the Fedora community. This is such a community-driven effort to pull this all together, and we have so many folks that have been involved in pulling this all together. You know, it's not just even though you see me and Jeff around a lot, it's not really just us here, but there's so many other folks that are involved. And I just want to give a big shout out to the community ops team. So Jeff, I'm going to bring you on up here and we can introduce the next speaker and the next topic as we come back from the break.
Yeah, great, Justin. Yeah, that's a great call out. I am literally just the face of things. Everyone else does all the work behind the scenes. So I certainly appreciate the effort everyone's putting in. So let's get going again. I believe next up we have Neil and Michael talking about Wayland-only GNOME desktop. And I will let you mic check, guys.
Hello.
Real quick.
Hello.
There we go. So I will drop off if you have slides. If you have slides to share, this is a good time to bring them up before I drop.
Let's see. Michelle, or okay, you've got it. Good.
All right. So Jeff and I will go ahead and drop off, and we will pass it over to both of you to go into detail on this Wayland-only GNOME change.
Michelle is sharing the wrong thing.
I probably should be sharing the screen instead of sharing the window. 1 second. Oh, good. Do you want to start talking, Neil, while I sort this out?
Sure.
Sorry, we really need a way to test this.
Yeah.
Ahead of time.
Yeah. So, like, hi, folks. This is Michelle and I. We're going to talk to you about the Wayland-only GNOME thing, and yeah, here it is. So this is the thing that Michelle and I worked on, and a little bit about us. I'll talk about my bit. Michelle, you can talk about yourself. So I like to call myself an open source advocate or a professional technologist or whatever. I've done a lot of things in a lot of spaces. I'm involved in multiple Linux distributions. You can see the litany of things there. I'm really involved in systems and software management as well as the desktop Linux stuff. And people know me from KDE, but I'm also the Workstation working group as well. And I have my own podcast, The Pseudo Show, which has been a little bit on hiatus because of things, but we make stuff and it's cool. So yeah, Michelle.
And contrary to rumors, Neil actually has time to sleep.
Ah, yes,
Oh.
there is that.
So yeah, hi everyone. I'm Michelle. I've been around Fedora for about 20 years. I'm currently in the engineering steering committee. I've been there for 2 election cycles, I think. I used to be in the Apple steering committee, but I don't have as much time as Neil, so like, so I dropped it out. I'm in the packaging committee. Relevant to this, I'm in the Workstation working group. I used to dabble with more Linux distributions than I do now, but I am a Debian maintainer as well. And at work, I work for the Linux user space team at Meta. So our job is to contribute upstream to Fedora, CentOS, because that's what we run at work. This is not a work talk, though. All right, Neil, anything else for the intro?
Well, I think that's all covered. So
yeah,
we can get started.
So we are going to talk today about the change proposal the change that got implemented for Fedora 43, which is making GNOME Wayland-only. And for those who might not be aware, why Wayland? Basically, Wayland is the replacement display system developed by pretty much a lot of the same people who were maintaining Xorg anyway. It's basically has most better support for newer computing hardware. It has a lot of things that Xorg X11 doesn't have and cannot be supported without basically extending the protocol, kernel management, HDR support, having mixed DPI multi-monitor, which anyone who uses a laptop and an external monitor basically suffer from this. And better support for non-traditional inputs. Do you have anything to add to this, Neil?
Yeah, the big thing that's been going on for the last, I don't know, what is it, 2 decades now, I think, has been the gradual transition from your relatively fixed form factor of a desktop PC that sits at your thing and you have one screen and it's a fixed monitor of some resolution with a keyboard and a simple mouse. Now we have things like high precision mice, macro keyboards. We have monitors that can do picture-in-picture. We have high DPI, low DPI. We have 3D displays. We have all this other stuff. And that's only when you're getting bigger, right? Then there's also the getting smaller with things like mobile devices. You've got your tablets that have no traditional inputs at all. You have only touch inputs and things like that. The screens are vertical rather than horizontal. So all of the things are oriented differently. You have to handle things like rotation, all that stuff. With the X11 environment, you are able to kind of hack some of this stuff together and you can kind of make it work. But then you'll see things like tearing, you'll see things like choppiness and stutters. Micro stutters are something that people tend to notice because they're very abrupt and things like that. With the Wayland technology, the upside and the downside is that you can do whatever you want with it. And that means that as we look at developing these experiences on Linux, you're able to do basically whatever you need to support whatever capabilities and features and form factors that you want. Earlier on, Matthias Klassen talked about supporting HDR and DCI-P3, which is something that Apple has supported for decades with macOS, and Windows only half supports in itself. And we're, with KDE Plasma and now GNOME, we're now able to have those capabilities. And we'll see more things like that over time, like new ways to handle things like people with limited mobility and stuff like that. There's lots of opportunities for improving the experience for users when you have, a wider range of flexibility with the Wayland protocol and the base system. Keep in mind that means that when we talk about Wayland, we're not talking about Wayland. We're talking about a environment that provides a Wayland-based experience. So GNOME Wayland or Plasma Wayland or Miracle Wayland and whatever. So that's the way to think about it.
And the next question you might ask is, why now? I'm one of those that actually moves slower on this. I remember voting in FESCO against us actually this dropping X11 because upstream hasn't dropped it yet. In this cycle, though, like in GNOME 49, upstream disabled XORG support by default, and they are removing it completely in GNOME 50. So if you notice, Ubuntu 25.10 also dropped support for GNOME on XORG following the upstream default. So this is something that we work together with upstream. We are not, while Fedora tried to be first, we also don't want to, drop something that some people might still need. Most importantly, the reason why everyone is converging to doing this right now in the cycle is that GPU support has quite matured, really. Like even NVIDIA, I mean, I try to avoid NVIDIA hardware, but on AMD GPUs and on Intel, I've had no issue with Wayland for years, which is a nice time to segue to the next part where we'll talk about tips and tricks. Wait, actually no. Neil will talk about how other desktops are also adopting Wayland, so it's not just a GNOME and KDE thing.
Yeah, even, look, this is kind of framed in the context of Fedora, but also this is a little bit about the broader ecosystem, right? So with GNOME, part of the reason there isn't a whole lot to say about GNOME Wayland is that you're mostly not supposed to notice it, right? It just works out of the box. Everything's been there. And also GNOME has been running on GNOME Wayland for almost 10 years now. And this is essentially not new for us as providing it as a default. What we have reached the point of is that, the GNOME upstream folks feel that GNOME has reached parity, and therefore they can start doing simplifications and now move past the parity point, which is exciting, right? So another desktop that's done this is KDE Plasma with Plasma 6, Wayland since Fedora 40. Within the context of Fedora KDE, as in the official deliverable and the team that works on it, it is effectively Wayland-only. LXQt has been Wayland by default since Fedora 42. Budgie, there's a change proposal that's being discussed and will probably be approved that moves it to Wayland for Fedora 44. And we had Cosmic last cycle that was introduced. It's Wayland native. Cinnamon has a Wayland experience, although we haven't really talked a whole lot about it. It's there. Give it a shot. Start talking to the developers about how it is. XFC, there's a Wayland experimental Wayland session available. There's the package to install it. Monte's got some upstream development going on for Wayland. I'm not sure of the usefulness of it yet, but it is being worked on, so it's there. So from the perspective of the broader Linux ecosystem and the context of Fedora in that space, we're generally leading on providing a high quality experience leveraging Wayland and related technologies for a variety of user experiences, whether it's KDE, GNOME, or something else altogether.
We should speed up a bit since we are 10 minutes in.
Yep. So these are some alternative tools and stuff like that. So many of you are oh, well, how do I do the thing that I've always done forever and ever on Wayland? Well, it turns out you're not completely alone. And there's a few things one that Michelle keeps reminding me that nobody knows, but I've been using forever is Waypipe. So if you are used to the SSH-X or God forbid SSH-Y, and you want to be able to remote your applications or even your whole desktop. Yes, I've done that before. It's super cool. You can use Waypipe to do the whole thing. And what it makes, it's much faster than SSH or the SSH X11 redirection, because Waypipe lets you use video codecs to encode the stream over the internet. So you can actually have a decently performant experience with it. I once had my web browser from my computer here. I accessed it from Germany to do something do some paperwork online that I couldn't do because the website was geo-blocked. And it worked really without any issue. So, that's the power of this new stuff. Now, if you're familiar, you use a lot of automation and stuff, you've been familiar with XDO tool or XDO tool. Well, there's Ydo tool, which is a more generic tool. And if you use KDE Plasma, there's KDO tool. I'm sure there's APIs and whatever for people to build GNOME-specific ones for that sort of thing. If you do a lot of terminal to desktop clipboard migration stuff with Xclip, WL Clipboard does the same thing. If you're a freaky build your own desktop experience kind of person with window managers, there's Window Maker to WL Maker on Wayland, and it provides an interesting classic experience there. And then if you're into tiling window managers, We actually have a few out there, like you have Sway, Miracle Whim, and Neri. Neri is super cool. It's a scrolling tiling whim. If you're familiar with the paper whim extension from GNOME in the olden days, you should give it a shot. It's pretty neat. And then Qtile, if you're into the programmable window manager stuff, like with Awesome and things like that. Qtile's great, although it replaces Lua with Python. I think that's a plus, but who knows? Your mileage may vary. And of course, all the major video conferencing platforms now work on Wayland, especially Zoom. There's a workaround if you're not using GNOME, but because we're talking about GNOME, you don't have to worry about it. It's all fine.
Neil had to chase the Zoom engineering team for a year to actually get this implemented.
18 months.
All right, even worse. Yeah, I think we kind of ran out of slides, and we have 2 minutes left, I guess, to take questions. Someone will need to check the chat since let me try on my phone.
So the first question is from Justin Wheeler about what is the greatest challenge that came up with delivering this change downstream in Fedora, and what was Fedora's role in enabling GNOME upstream to begin moving away from X11 legacy code? Oh, coming back to Matthias talking about 40% code reduction. Well, so the first bit was Michelle and I actually prototyped this in CentOS Hyperscale. We did this work in CentOS Hyperscale and found like a dozen separate bugs and a bunch of things that were half broken. And I submitted fixes. We did some work. We talked to GNOME folks upstream. That was done in the context of GNOME 48, which fed into GNOME 49. And for the GNOME 49 cycle, I was engaged, with other district representatives, and we basically kind of came to an arrangement with GNOME upstream about the timelines and getting all this stuff done, making sure the scope and things were handled. So we helped them basically be assured that for GNOME 49, they could disable it by default and then delete it for GNOME 50, which is where the 40% code reduction comes from. This doesn't happen in 49, that happens in 50.
So, well, our bug fixes will actually land back in RHEL 10, right? Since they are rebasing to the
That's
Fedora,
true.
GNOME.
Right.
Excellent.
So people don't know this yet because it hasn't been said, but if you poke around on the CentOS Stream GitLab's project space on gitlab.com, they're rebasing to GNOME 49 for GNOME Shell and Mutter and things like that. I assume that also includes GDM. And so with all of that, they are actually going to get these improvements that we did. So yay. So the second/third question from two separate people, Martin Owens and Justin, is support for accessibility, colors, profiles, and other last mile features for Wayland Fedora. So all of this stuff is relatively new for GNOME 49. And at this point, accessibility is mostly a parity with what it was in GNOME X11. Orca has been refreshed and updated as of GNOME 48 and also refined in 49 to have coverage on this space. Screen color profiles and stuff, that's new in 49. The color management protocol landed about, I want to say, a little over a year ago, and it was merged into Plasma and then into GNOME later on. And so now we have it on both the two leading Fedora editions. Other last mile features, you'll just have to talk to me later about it because there's a long list. It's the last mile.
We have one more question about i3 and WM. It's hard to speak about individual upstream projects. We have a slide showing that a lot of projects are supporting Wayland, and I guess, is WL Maker done by the same people as Window Maker, or is it
no?
different?
It's a new group. What's kind of been happening is that the development for X11 stuff, while still going on for now, is definitely what I would consider slowing down. So window managers, tools, things like that. As the Wayland environments become more prevalent, people's efforts are naturally shifting to scratch their own itches in the new Wayland world. It also helps that now we have a lot of Wayland compositor libraries that are not painful to build Wayland environments on. I mean, you have the Mirror library, which is very, very easy to use for producing new compositors. You've got Louvre. People can build stuff with Weston using plugins, and also Lua. Apparently, they just added a Lua shell to it. And there's more. So I think what you're going to see is this increased transition around this, and you're going to see the existing X11 environments either become more relegated to niche statuses or dropped off entirely. It kind of depends on how those individual projects sort themselves out and decide what they want to do.
All right. I think we should hand this back to Jeff now. Yes.
Hey, thanks, both of you guys. Sorry, I mispronounced your name at the beginning, and I apologize. I said Michael at the beginning, and I should.
It happens.
Sorry, but I need to apologize for that because it's important. So thanks both of you for that talk, and let's move on to the next one. If Justin can roll you off, say wave goodbye, guys. Yeah. And the next talk is going to be from Cornelius, and it's about my Outreachy journey. So it's going to be a talk about a new contributor who used the Outreachy program, I believe. So if Cornelius is available.
Yeah, so I didn't realize, but there's a cap for the number of folks that can be on the backstage at a time. So I've had to drop some people off, so Cornelius can hopefully try again and jump onto the stream. And this one is a really cool one. I mean, I'll let him, I'm sure you'll be hearing more from him in a little bit here, but he's been doing a lot of really great work together with some folks to do more outreach and events. You know, building on the Fedora Rocks topic, he's been doing some actual in-person documentation workshops across Kenya at various Kenyan universities, and has been helping kind of steward a emerging Fedora East Africa community, collaborating with some of our folks that we have in West Africa, like in Nigeria. So I'm really excited to bring him up here. Let me just follow back up in the chat, because we did have I saw him try to join in here, and then he got bumped because we were at capacity. So I'm just going to try to follow up really quick and see if we can pull him back on the stage.
Right. So let me tap dance for a minute. Yeah, I think the Outreachy program is probably one of the longest standing and most successful sort of, open source internship programs that are out there. And it's really nice to see that we've continued to make a commitment there. It's great to see people, especially from new regions, right? It's great to see we have contributors from Africa, and I want to find a way to get there. Not only because it's the last continent that I haven't got to, but that's a personal thing. But it would be great. It would be great for us to have a larger event in Africa, and that's something I want to see in the next few years if we can make it happen. But Cornelius is here. Can you do a mic check real quick? Just give us say hello. I'm not sure his audio is there.
Can you hear us, Cornelius? We got the slides. I see you're on mute. Let me see. Do I have? No, I can't unmute people. I don't have that kind of power.
Yeah. Sorry,
Perfect.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear. All right, so Jeff and I are going to go ahead and roll off, and we'll go ahead and give you the floor.
From your side. Let me check my chats, I guess. Okay, I guess you can see my screen and also you can hear me, I suppose. Let me confirm if that's true. Okay, yeah, okay. Just a minute. So I'm here to talk about my what I did during the internship, and how I stayed and what I'm currently doing during the internship. So before that, I would like to introduce my new friend. I guess you can see her. I haven't named her yet, but if you have a really cool name, you can just drop it in the chat. I'll check it out later. So the slides is about what I did during the internship, and my name is Cornelius. Yeah. So I'll go straight to what I focused on during the internship, and I wasn't really doing a lot of technical stuff. So that was a lot of community work, documentation. So the first thing that I did was the event checklist. So creating the clear documentation checklist that would help organizers do an inclusive checklist events, including this one. And I hope those who organized it really checked that, because that was what I did, and I hope it helped you during your preparation. Yeah. So the other thing was on the documentation, the DI documentation. So I was fixing the broken links, adding new pages, and making it be available, the links that are broken, and all the other things that I'm not sure, I can't remember all of that, what I did, but I was improving the documentation, the DI documentation. If you check it right now, it's much better compared to the last, I guess that would be 6 months from now. And also the other thing that I was focusing on was the events. And this is the part that I really love doing, organizing events and running events. So the past few months, even during the Outreachy internship, I had three events so far. The first one was when I was applying as an applicant during the Outreachy, and I planned one of the events during the application period. That was Fedora at Muranga University, and I guess some of you read about the blog post. The second one was on June 21st, I guess. I was focusing on documentation and DEI work. And the last one was, I did it here, I think that was 2 weeks ago, Fedora at Kirinyaga University. And it went really good. There were new contributors who joined us, but there's another topic for that. After joining the community, what can you do next? So yeah, I talked about it, but I have the slides here. So there was a magazine that I wrote about the first event that I did, Fedora at Muranga University. If you want to read about it, you can look it up. And also the second one was Fedora, based on, that was on documentation and the DI. The last one I did was on November 8th, and that was at Kirinyaga University. You can read about that there. And these were the pictures, a few pictures that we took. The first one here was, we were many, around 70, I guess, or 60. That was at Muranga University. And if you check down there, that was on November 8th at Kirinyaga University. Yeah. So, and after the internship, well, I would say I fell in love with Fedora once I joined through the program, and even the first event that I had at Muranga University. And I kept contributing. I got selected, and here I am. I'm still contributing, and based on what I've just said about yes, new contributors are joining, and what comes after joining, like how can we help them how can we help them integrate into our community? And I wrote a post about that, what comes after joining the community. So I've written a lot of suggestions there, and my view, and also what I think might be the best way to incorporate them as early as we can, because I would want to join a community and then contribute as early as I can, because if I wait too long, maybe it may be waved away by another activity somewhere. Okay, but of course, someone is driven by passion. Maybe if someone has joined our community, he wants to contribute and help us whenever he can. And I guess it's communication. It's about communication. If the mentor or the maintainer of a given project would always answer the questions and tell the new contributors about uh, the project, that would be really great. And also, you just need to unload yourself, because we are here to help you. For me, I love contribute. I love contributing to different projects as long as I learn something new, because written about my contribution at Mozilla, and I thought maybe we would revive the mentored bugs again, and that would be a bit, I guess, good for the new contributors to engage as early as they can. And yeah, you just need to show us your ways. You need to unload yourself, because I want to help, And yeah, I guess, yeah, after the internship, there's a project that I'm currently also participating in, building the front end part, the release schedule planner project. This was it's a mentored project during my cohort, and Anthony Nyaga was part of the project, and Thomas is the mentor for this project. And shout out to them both, because I've not seen them talk in this space. But again, thanks to my mentor Yona, because she pushed me to talk here. And again, to the other interns, Kayode and Tanvi from Google Sum of Code. Yeah. Again, I'm also part of the DI team. We are driving the initiatives in the DI team, and also I'm in the joint SIG. I'm also supporting in the events. I do a lot regarding the new contributors, because I think I've not heard about talk about doubling the number of contributors. I guess Jeff would tell us something soon about that, because I think it is really good to hear, even from new contributors from Kenya. If you see in the community that someone is from Kenya, maybe and other parts of Africa, that would be really great. And again, yeah, I'm helping with the migration of the new Forge to our new home, the DI team, and even what Peter's been talking before here, I'm also part of that. Yeah, I'm part of that. And again, and many other things. We've had social hour. I guess this is different from the one, I think they're called, I haven't joined that yet, but we've been playing games with Matt and who's this? I can't remember the name. Valentini, yeah. I'm part of these other activities as well. Yeah, and I want to thank my mentor, Yona, wherever you are. Thank you for the opportunity and your guidance during the internship, and also even after during the internship. And to the community at large, Matt was there, Justin Edwards for the video editing. I didn't know about editing videos, but he was there. The marketing team, Joseph, the ComOps, yeah, those funding approvals, I guess. And the mentors who are mentoring the other interns, the Outreachy and the Google Summer. And I guess and everyone, I guess, the interns and the mentors. And to everyone I've worked with, I'm thankful. And this is just it's not unheard, but I guess if you hear about anything, any roles outside, you can reach out to me, Cornelius Emas, and my username Lochipi. And Thank you. So this talk, I'm blindly talking, but I can't hear from the other speakers here. And I have to check my chats.
Yeah, thanks for that. Let me help you with that. Let me get to the matrix channel and see if we have any questions. Oh, there's a question here. What do you think is the easiest thing we could do to make it easier to contribute to Fedora?
Okay, I'll talk based on my experience. Like if I find easy fix or maybe new bugs that are there, and we have mentors who are going to guide you do the project. That's for the technical part. It would be easier for me to ask questions along the way as I learn, because sometimes you may not know about a given language, and you have someone there to guide you. So if we can have those mentored bugs again, that would be great. And I guess for the other part, non-technical stuff, if you are contributing as a new contributor, I guess it's just about the old contributors to just guide us.
Great. So thanks again for the talk. We will wrap this one up and wave goodbye, and we'll move on to the next speaker. Thanks a lot, Cornelius. And we are moving on to the next one. I got to get my tab up. It is going to be from Chris Murphy. There's Chris, and going to be talking about the change to the boot mount point to 2 gigs, because things always get bigger, right, Chris? That was a mic check opportunity. There it is.
The mic check. How do I sound?
You sound great. If you can
Okay,
bring
good.
up your screen share, and I will roll off.
I don't have slides. I don't have anything to share. It's just my face and my voice.
Okay, great. I will still roll off. It'll be.
And then we'll do Q&A, because I only have probably about 5 minutes of material here. So my name is Chris Murphy. I'm a member of the Workstation Working Group Committee. And I also have been a little less active with Fedora QA lately, but that's where I got my start in Fedora, was self-torture and punishment and helping make Fedora better. And hopefully I did a little bit of that over the years. So a quick background on 2 gigabyte boot partition and how we got there. It's the details are maybe not the interesting part, so I'm going to gloss over some of the technical stuff. There's going to be a flurry of technical jargon, and that, folks can ask questions in the Q&A if you're interested in some of those things. But the real takeaway is the more interesting part. So I'll get to that at the end. What is the boot partition? So it contains kernels, the Linux kernel, up to 3 different versions, and an init RAMFS, initial RAM file system, which contains drivers and files and things for doing the initial startup and discovering the root file system is what its purpose is. Plus bootloader configuration files. So it actually temporarily contains a 4th kernel and an RAMFS pair when you're doing system updates. So once it already has 3, we cap out at 3, but it has to install a 4th one, the most recent one, during a system update in order to before it can delete the first one, the oldest one. So a 4th one gets installed, and then once that's on stable media, then the first one is deleted, it gets removed. So we actually need the space for 4, even though only 3 are retained on a regular basis. And that's just the default, and so of course user configurable. So I first became aware of a potential problem with the space late in the Fedora 43 testing cycle, there were some upstream changes in Draycut. Draycut is the component that creates the init ramifest. And this created some pretty significant size increases that were, upstream was totally expecting this, and they were not surprised. It was not considered a bug. It was a surprise. That doesn't mean anything other than it was a surprise to me, just unexpected. And it does happen from time to time in any project. So this resulted in a bunch of discussions with Fedora QA and on the Devil list, and what are we going to do? What should we do? What's the problem? So those sorts of flurry to try to really thoroughly understand the problem was one of the first issues, not just preemptively increase the size of boot. So a bunch of conversations occur, and this is over weeks of time. Unbeknownst to me at this point, though, that there were other issues that were going on. So AMD and NVIDIA GPU firmware packages also, they had additions that substantially increased their size. And for people who have NVIDIA or AMD GPU hardware, their init ramifest will get these extra large firmware files into their init ramifest, so that during boot, there's a flicker-free boot, and you get to see a graphical Plymouth for typing in a password for full encrypted disk system setups, that sort of thing. So I don't have that hardware, so I didn't notice this on a day-to-day basis with my day-to-day init ramifests. So it really came down to the Fedora QA community and testers, community testers, who were responding to a bug report. I don't remember if I filed it or somebody else filed it. But that's when I became aware of, like, okay, so now there's a really good chance that more people are gonna run out of space, because this user was roughly 90% full boot volume at this time, with 3 kernels installed, and that seems to be very concerning. So I talked to Neil Gompa. He's one of our FESCO committee members, and filed a FESCO ticket, and that resulted in some conversation. And eventually, that's how it got approved to change to a 2 gigabyte boot. So I'm kind of like collapsing all that into just 4 or 5 minutes of storyline, but really the takeaway is not so much the technical aspects of all this. It's really the community driven. What are we going to do? This is a puzzle, and nobody really panics, and it's just how do we work the problem? How do we figure out what we're going to do, and what's the best possible solution? And we don't, ordinarily, like, it's not like the FESCO members were like, oh yeah, let's do this. There were questions about, we're not going through the normal process. We're not, what are the potential liabilities that we're not uncovering through a longer formal change proposal process. So it really underscored the reason why we have these sorts of policies, why things work the way they work in Fedora, and how we're able to, push the envelope, but also produce a stable product in the end as well. So it's a pretty good balance, I think. So that was sort of the takeaway for me, is why things work the way they work. That's about it. Otherwise, I'll just keep rambling.
Great. I'm not sure we have a lot of questions.
Well, that's all right.
Just comments. I love the classic 640K should be enough disk space for anyone.
Right. Well, we probably could do that still. There would be some diminished features and behaviors. We might have to take a haircut on a few things.
Oh, late breaking question. How are we testing this? I would imagine that we now have double the testing paths for system upgrades.
Yeah, that's a good question. it's a very good question, because it seems like, okay, you increase the size, what could possibly be the consequences be? And the most immediate thing would be, well, maybe we're really concerned mostly with people who have hardware with much significantly smaller storage, like maybe a Chromebook or something like that. There just isn't a lot. And you want to be sensitive to unnecessarily using space, because it's not just a consideration. You go, okay, well, everybody has more storage and it's cheap, and they can't. Yeah, that's sort of true for a chunk of the user base, but for a large chunk of the user base, that is not the case. So you still have to be sensitive to these sorts of things. One of the side effects that did come up that was unexpected, because it didn't get, it was tested. We did discover right before release. We decided not to slow down the release. We weren't able to fix this bug. In the installer. The installer has a reinstall option, so you can reinstall Fedora. And when you reinstall Fedora, you can choose to keep the user home, which by default right now is on Btrfs these days. So you're keeping that file system. That file system is quite large. So if we have an FE system partition, a boot partition, and this very large Btrfs partition, if you're retaining that Btrfs partition, we don't have a way to make the boot bigger. And the way reinstall works in the installer, it wants to make it now. It wants to make a 2 GB boot. It doesn't have a concept of, well, all I have here is a 1 GB boot. Let's just use that and proceed. So it just stops and it gets confused. So that was a bug that did occur as a result of the change. That is just an unanticipated thing, and we'll get around to fixing that and making it a better experience for 44. But it's a fair point that we do have now multiple paths to test, and that will be an ongoing thing, because we also run into this with 500 megabyte boot still on occasion. So we were starting to see that over the last maybe 2 releases. There were some instances of people running out of space on their old. That's 10 years ago that we had an installer producing 500 megabyte boot volume. So yeah, it's a good question.
I think we're at time, so if you could probably pick up questions in the chat if you're there.
Yep.
And I will let you go, and we can roll into the next
Super. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Chris.
Bye.
And the next thing is actually a pre-recorded from Scott McCarty, and it's a pre-recorded thing about RHEL 11 and Fedora.
Hello, and thank you for
No, you can roll it, Justin. We can go.
Thank you for inviting someone from the RHEL business unit to the Fedora 43 release party. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there today because I'm on PTO. I'm on vacation, but I'm recording this, and hopefully you are listening to it while I am heading to vacation with my children. So with that, I want to start real quickly. I just want to go through 3 real quick things. I want to go through some people celebrations. I want to go through some technology celebrations, and I just want to look forward to a couple things. So let's start with some people celebrations that I think are important. So this is a group of people that I've worked with recently as we've been working on RHEL 11 and in the time frame of Fedora 43. Samantha, we have talked several times. She gets the gold star because she actually submitted a couple big ideas for RHEL 11 to our internal survey, which were amazing. Alexandra and I have had some really good conversations about the future of Anaconda and where we go and the vision for RHEL 11. Jeff also has had some great visions around where he wants to take Fedora and how he wants to make certain things better, improve certain things, et cetera, that align very tightly with RHEL 11. Afa, I have to thank her for being kind enough to invite me to this release party. And Gordon and I have started some conversations about, AI things in Fedora, which I think are really exciting and will lead to good things in RHEL 11 and even future versions of RHEL 10. Now, from the Fedora side of the house, let's jump over to the RHEL side of the house. Ooh, the dark side. So Jeff shows up again because last month we all met in Raleigh, and Jeff is actually part of the core team for RHEL 11. I think this is the first time we've ever actually done something like this, where we have like the Fedora project lead involved in the product. But it is beautiful because basically it kind of makes Jeff aware of all of the business problems and things we're thinking about. And so then he carries those around in his brain as he goes and talks to other people in the community. And so not that he is responsible for making the product, but at least he's aware and he gives us information and informs us on his thoughts and opinions, and actually has quite good opinions. Brian Stinson is also part of this team. Tiffany Nolan is also part of this team for user experience. She's been wonderful. And Marty Lovelace is also part of this team. Again, a very interesting thing where we've never really had a product marketing person involved this early in the process. And call out to somebody that's not technically in the team, but who is highly well aligned, and that is James Huang. With the release of 10.1 recently in Fedora 43, he actually was the lead for the accelerators work that we put in, where we announced support for CUDA and NVIDIA drivers, etc. And also Rama Llama, which maybe you haven't heard of. Kind of got exciting for a while, and then it went a little quiet, and I think we're getting excited about it again. So I will talk about that a little bit more in the future, but we're thinking about some really interesting ideas around what we can do with Rama Llama and Fedora, etc. So with these people celebrations, now let's jump to some technology celebrations. So here you see I have a RHEL 10.1 system installed on my laptop. It is image mode, by the way, and I just rebuilt the image today. And running on top of that, I have a Fedora 43 box running. And that is a fresh install that I literally just installed today. And so you can see it's beautiful. I have Fedora 43 running side by side with RHEL 10.1, happily side by side, and I love them both. So what specifically about Fedora 43 am I excited about? Well, I'd say I'm calling out just 5 things. These are only 5 important things. I don't think they're everything, but I think it's kind of early things that are sloshing around in our heads as we think about RHEL 11 and we're in a certain phase of the development. Image Builder. Image Builder is really interesting because as the world moves forward with more and more cloud hybrid infrastructure where you need to run something as a container, as a boot C server, as a image server out in Amazon, et cetera, and all these different places with all these different pieces of software, different architectures, RISC-V, ARM, Intel, et cetera. I think Image Builder is one of these places where we can pull a bunch of these problems together and actually sort them out in a consistent way. So I think this is a really interesting from the RHEL side. RPM 6 and Fedora and DNF 5 are really interesting because we've actually wanted them forever. I would have loved to have them actually in RHEL 10 because I think it will allow us to do a lot of cool things in the container images, for example, making smaller container images, etc. So that's exciting. Podman Desktop, recently given to the CNCF, is super interesting, I think, going forward. Again, similar to Image Builder, I envision, I think the team, the RHEL 11 team envisions it as being sort of one of the front doors that people use to get into RHEL, especially as, a lot more things drive into containers and boot C servers. And so that kind of becomes your main point of contact that you use to kind of, install the operating system, basically. And finally, I think I had to call out boot C, same thing, part of, working on, a brilliant piece of technology that I think really helps tie everything together. Sort of the final frontier, honestly. It feels kind of obvious now in retrospect, but it's brilliant. And I think also, tie that with Podman Desktop, super interesting where that goes towards RHEL 11. Specifically, I kind of wanted to show, I got, my Fedora 43 box up and running, quickly enabled Cockpit, got Image Builder running, and started building an image. And so I'm actually live building an image. I think it's running in the background, actually, even as I record this. But I wanted to show you a screenshot. I did have the cascading technology failures that one always has when they go to mess with things. I did lock up my RHEL 10 box, decide, maybe something's wrong with the kernel. Let me update to RHEL.10.1. And then I messed up by deleting a line in the container file. And it just happened to be a container file that I did not have Git controlled and I did not have a backup for. And so I ended up actually rebooting into 10.1, realizing that I had screwed up the VPN, could not get into the VPN to actually install the VPN tools in the container image, and realized that I was in one of those catch-22s where, oh dear God, I have messed this up. So what did I do? I rolled back to RHEL 10.0, the image that was cached on my laptop, rolled back, connected back to the VPN, farted around fixing the container file, because that was a whole long story that I won't bore you with. Spent about 2 hours. So, fun times, enjoying the lifestyle that a lot of our customers feel, and even Fedora users feel when we decide to do something done. The best part is this was all user error. This was not anything with anything in Fedora 43 or RHEL 10.1. It was all me. And so, yeah, I got to enjoy 2 hours of troubleshooting based on my own manual errors. So that was fun. But either way, I'm still super excited to have Fedora 43 up and running on RHEL 10.1 with Image Builder running. I think this kind of really ties the room together and shows some of the kinds of things you can do with these all combined. So looking forward, just a few little things I want to run through. We kind of view like RHEL 11 in sort of 3 big phases. There's like a planning phase, there's an execution phase, and there's a launch phase. And right now we're still in the planning phase. And so if you have big ideas for RHEL or the next version of Fedora, please reach out, please push them. This is the time to do it. This is sort of the window of opportunity to push things down the pipe to get into RHEL 11 and become very permanently part of the ecosystem. Right now, I kind of show this slide internally even, but like, we're going to time box it to like this 1 quarter, get to 60%. And then we're going to keep iterating. So you're going to see us change, big ideas. We'll add big ideas, and we'll keep dreaming. But we want to have something that we're working on now. So like I'd say we're getting very close to a 60% plan. We've kind of got really 4 big ideas that I'm not quite ready to talk about publicly, but we're grooming them. We're in that grooming phase right now. But if you have big ideas, please reach out to your friendly, Fedora RHEL person, anyone, reach out to me directly, Father Linux on the social medias. And we would love to hear from you. So, and again, I want to say thank you for having me be part of the Fedora release party. This is awesome. I am super excited to have Fedora and RHEL kind of be jiving really well together. And it's been fun with Jeff coming on board. And, we look forward to, brighter future, a bright future, I should say. So thank you and goodbye.
Hey, okay, so that was Scott. Sorry, Justin brought me back and I didn't have my video on yet. So I think we will, if we can, roll into the next video. I'm not sure. Were you able to get that video available, Justin?
It is coordination here, but we will have an update. It's probably going to take a little bit ahead of schedule, actually. We've got 4 minutes. It'll be a long delay, but we have the next update, which is going to come from Akashdeep Dar and Tomasz Hrka, I believe. And you're going to be hearing an update from both of them on the Fedora's progress and migration to the Forgejo Get Forge, which will be the new home for the things. If I'm prepared of all of like the get of your work in Fedora. You've been around in the some people, everything is on Packit, which to some people might think most of it's on GitLab, and it's true. And if you're from another minority of the community, and some people are doing work on Codeberg, which is it's the upstream Forgejo. What's really exciting about this, to hear more about it once this video floating to the stage. But part of this long arc story of how we're getting to this point is that it's actually been a conversation for a few years. If you've been around in Fedora, you'll know that we've been talking about Git forges for quite some time. We made 10 years of Fedora, largely use cases. In the we were using a hybrid Git. Did I lose my connection?
You're roboting a little bit is all.
Maybe I'll try turning off my video and see if that helps. So we built Pagor as kind of an answer to our self-hosting challenges when we were using a system called cgit, which was where all the packages were uploaded, and Track, which was the PHP-based ticketing system that we used for a long time before 2015. So we built Pagor mostly by ourselves, but we as a Fedora community effort. But we definitely had some notable other projects and communities that were involved. However, our lesson that we kind of learned in that experience is that building a Git forge is really hard. And when you're building it mostly around your use cases and nobody else's, it makes it harder for others to maybe get involved or to participate in the development of the project. So what you're going to be hearing about, as I just double check the progress of the upload. Okay, now it's going, we're at 20%. So we got to do some tap dancing for like 2 more minutes here. What's really exciting about this is that Forgejo is an actual Git forge that's maintained by its own community. It's not only Fedora specific. And what I really think is exciting about this, and I believe you'll be hearing a lot more about this in the session, is we're actually taking this upstream first mentality, which has largely defined the history of Fedora and our project and our community. And we're actually working hand in hand with the maintainers upstream to help add new features and improvements, both some that are kind of specific for our use case as we look at migrating our 40-something package repositories from distribution Git or dist-git to our own Forgejo instance. But also we're helping improve the platform for everyone that's using Forgejo, which is, again, its own project with its own community and lots of different users that are out there. For me, I have been around for a while. I remember when we used to use Track and when we built Pagor and how exciting it was to really have kind of this new platform to kind of make some of our collaboration easier. But as I've been around for a while and seen the challenges in maintaining a platform as large as a Git forge that, ultimately delivers 40,000 packages, even though people always had the best intentions, and we had some really amazing people who helped keep Pagor going and to help make it the platform that's defined the last 10 years of our project's history, I am really excited about this new chapter that we're going down, because to me, it represents a strong community collaboration with a project that has a lot of shared values in software freedom and really have been really welcoming and friendly to us as we've kind of started down on this journey. So I'm really excited about this change for a number of reasons, not for the least that we've been discussing this for a long time. And I feel like we're finally reaching the point where it's not just discussion, but we're really getting into action. We're at 51%. So Jeff, do you want to take a little tap dance transition here while we continue to wait for the upload in the background?
Yeah, I'm actually really excited about the forge transition. It's going to be, change is always a little painful, but I actually think this gets us in a really good space for the next sort of, the next chapter, like you said, hopefully a decade plus. I'm really interested in seeing how far we can take sort of the GitOps approach for some of the things, especially because my understanding is this forge hasn't sort of tries to be API compatible with some of the GitHub's API. and that's an interesting place to be, I think. So, yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm actually my energy drink is running out from this morning, so I'm running out of pep. But I guess some other thoughts around the Forge. I'm at a blank. Sorry. I need to tap dance for a couple of minutes more. I think we're like looking at the migration right now. We're sort of in that stage, right, where we are transitioning just the source bits, like in some of the work product that we use. I know there's a small issue associated with how the new Forge handles private issues, because private issues are associated with private repos, and we have some workflows that we've developed that allow people to issue private tickets into something that's otherwise public, and we're going to have to transition that. That's probably the nearest term change that we have to adapt to. But that's one of those R workflows that we developed, and it's not something you see in sort of in the GitHub like space out there, because in general private repos are fully private, right? And we have these situations where we need to have private tickets on public repos, because we're using the repos as a sort of a ticketing system for non-technical issues, and that's something we have to figure out. Justin, where are we at?
Yeah. So, hey, Jeff. Well, we're at 74%, but there was actually an interesting question in the chat from Joseph Gayoso for you specifically, which, again, while we wait, we can have a little back and forth. So, what are things you're interested in doing for Fedora Linux 44, or goals that the community should try to work towards that are exciting for you personally?
Oh my goodness. Personally, the one thing I want to try to get traction on is SIG health in general. I think I want to look at structuring SIGs in a way where we can come back and do health assessments, so that on a periodic basis, so that we can then have a group of people who help SIGs get out of sort of a situation where they are feel under provision to do the work, and we can focus on one SIG at a time and trying to fight 7 fires all at once, right? And that's a different way of dealing with SIGs. I think SIGs in general, historically, were sort of scratch your own itch, and then you get to the point where, oh gosh, we need to have some governance structure here because we're doing more work than we originally thought we would be doing. And I want to sort of put that more out in front, so that we can have SIGs that have more definition when we agree that there needs to be an organized group effort around an area. So that way at the council level, we can check in and be like, hey, are you doing well? And then come back. And if they're not doing well, it's a matter of making sure that we can focus on that one group and get them back up in health, and then we can health check the next group, and hopefully that gets us into a better place long term. But that's a long term play, right? That's not fighting the fires right now. That is a matter of being able to, every release cycle we can health check a portion of the space, if that makes sense. Yeah, send a signal flare. Beautiful. That's fantastic. But that's the thing that I think that's in scope for me that other people probably aren't thinking about, and at a council level, right? And then it's a matter of as trying to help other people get their work done, right? That's my goal.
All right. Well, thanks for that update and quick answer to Joseph's question. So now I'm going to go ahead and bring the video up for the Get Forge update. Here you're going to be hearing from Akashdeep Dar and Tomasz Hurka. about some of the work that's been going on in the last release for slowly but surely moving us into the Forgejo future. So I'm going to go ahead and peel me and Jeff off, and I'm going to bring their pre-recorded talk up.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the talk about Fedora Forgejo Migration Community Initiative. My name is Tomáš, and my co-presenter is Akash, and we are today to give you an update about the initiative and the state of it. So I will give word to Akash.
Thanks, Tomáš. Let's talk about the progress first, what we have been up to since the last release party, since the last 6 months. So the last release party was somewhere around May 29. We foundationalized our workflow as being something that we want to do as a part of sprints. And then we also were involved in a data center migration from IAD2 to RDU3 for about a week or so. Soon after that, you must remember that we shared this crazy looking URL for the staging deployment. We had the production deployment right after, about which we let you know as a part of a Comblog article. And we slowly but surely started migrating things over from Packit over to Forgejo, or the Fedora Forge, like we call it. And that also led us to the pre-sprint foundation. For the next couple of weeks, we were getting more into the new workflow with the post-deployment operations, the infrastructure continuity, making sure that we are able to document the way we are doing things and making sure that these things are reproducible by folks who join us in the initiative, as well as improve the pipelines for synchronizing the upstream Forgejo images and building our images with Fedora Project specific changes on the top. The sprint structure that we followed had this layout, which we kept following for the coming weeks. Speaking about documentation, we gave it a lot of importance. For the live deployment of the Fedora Forge documentation, we initialized a Fedora Forge repository in the Forgejo deployment of Fedora Project, which also involved the feature development of ASCII Doctor Live Preview, which wasn't there in the Forgejo upstream. We had to build it in-house and then send it upstream for review. The migration document was also worked upon. People could now follow the guidance from documentation to move their repositories from Packit, GitHub, GitLab sources. And there were also some progresses made on packaging Forgejo as an RPM with 12.0.2 and 12.0.3 both at that time. And then there were functional workarounds to automatic user creations and private tickets. The next thing was tooling, including the CI/CD workflows using Forgejo actions, which looks very closely to GitHub actions, sure, but are not compatible with each other. Then streamlining deployments with the use of Conflux CI, feature additions, and documenting those things so as to make sure that people understand just what exactly it is that we're working on and just how they can contribute to it. And interface enhancements, cosmetics, front-end stuff. Getting to the feature parts at around October's beginning, the Fedora messaging webhook notifications were something that we worked on, especially for the CI events, the successful ones, the recovering ones, as well as the ones that failed, to ensure that we have some automation in progress. Then the continuous integration, just like the last one. And finally, the major release of Forgejo version 13.0.0 was pushed to the production along with the caching considerations, whether or not we should get rid of the now deprecated Bitnami images for Redis in terms of the more newer Valkey images. We progressed on the same path for the automation purposes. Fedora Actions remained one of the top priorities for us, so as to make sure that we provide folks with at least some minimum infrastructure to test their things out, or to build documentation, or the basic stuff, basically, while the other things like packaging and anything else could totally be offloaded to some other CI services. The caching availability was improved with a val key high availability cluster being made available as a Redis replacement, and policy establishments like the one for private issue tickets that we have been working towards were laid down. Finally, last but not the least, as we're talking about the Fedora Linux 43 release right now, the documentation updates were also made on the Fedora Forge. And then stabilization. With all the movements around the features and the documentation, we also have to make sure that we take some time to make sure that the things that we are building, they actually persist for a longer period of time. The upstream advancements towards private issue tickets is something that has been going on for quite a while and is still in progress. We are in active works with the upstream to make sure that this is something that we not only work for ourselves, but also send upstream as and when it is ready. The attachment retention also ensures that the issue trackers and the pull requests that have attachments in their bodies or in their comments can also move on whenever the migration takes place. Then the cleaning up of automated builds whenever we feel like, because it doesn't make sense to retain both the production and staging builds whenever we want either of those to be deployed. And finally, optimizing the pipeline to see where we can enhance that process. Those were the things that we were working on, but if I were to nail it down to one diagram as to how we do things, how we build the Forgejo image, how we add stuff into it that's very specific to Fedora Project, and how we make it available to you folks so that you can collaborate on that platform, this image would be the one. I'm not sure if my cursor is visible, but if it is, let's start with the base of the image. That is the patches that's specific to Fedora Project. A bunch of times there are things that's very specific to us, like the automated user creation, which might not be suitable for the upstream, given that the repositories might come from, well, all kinds of GitForge platforms. It could be GitLab, it could be GitHub, it could be an identity platform that people might not trust. But over here, the identity platform is Fedora account system. And hence, we wanted to create users as and when we are migrating the issue tickets or the comments or the pull requests that they created immediately with all the information that we have from the Noggins backend. So that's very specific to us that we keep in the Fedora Project's fork of Forgejo, which is over here. This is a fork that we maintain with both our changes while keeping it updated with the changes that come from the upstream. We keep synchronizing it on a regular fashion. And if there are changes that we think would both benefit us as well as the upstream and, well, the folks who use Codeberg, because remember, Codeberg is a Forgejo deployment at the end of the day, we make it a point to upstream our changes so that we not only take advantage of the stuff that we build, but others can too. That's about the Forgejo upstream over here. The next is maintaining a GitHub mirror for the facilitation purposes. As Conflux at the moment of talking about this does not natively support Forgejo, we have to retain a GitHub mirror for the facilitation purposes. It's just the same thing as that in the Fedora Project's fork. And from there on out, we trigger automated bells for whenever we synchronize from the upstream or we add something on the top of our fork, whenever any kind of change happens, basically. And then, depending on the build that happens, if it's intended for the staging environment, which is, of course, more frequent, to test things out, and of course, to break while making tests, because it's a staging environment after all. We deploy these things on OpenShift cluster, and then a more curated deployment after we are done checking things quite extensively to be working, that happens on the production instance of OpenShift, which is, of course, less frequent. We don't make changes as much as it happens on the staging cluster. But that's about it for the progress as well as how we build and deploy Fedora Forge. I will now pass it over to Tomasz, who's going to talk about the future of this initiative. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Akash. So if I can ask you for the next slide. So as Akash mentioned, we currently have a production deployment of the Forge. So where we are currently now is implementing the actions. As you mentioned, the team already implemented actions. So we do have the runners and the infrastructure to being able to react on events that are happening in repositories inside the Forge. In this slide, there is a QR code, so you can link to an example repository in our staging, which basically does that. You can see it in the slide. It triggers a bunch of actions. What is the aim with this for the forge.fedoraproject.org is to basically support lightweight CI tasks, things like building Fedora documentation, things like building documentation for a different project that's part of Fedora, like some of our services, assembling web assets for our services that we deploy in our infrastructure is also one of the tasks that we plan to support. And basic linting for your Ansibles, for your whatever it is that you are writing, whatever your service uses. So that kind of a CI is something we aim to support. Depending on the availability of our resources, we might consider running heavier CI workloads, but that's really not the main focus of this. The main focus of actions is to streamline our workflows, us and different groups inside Fedora to leverage a modern tooling and not to have to rely on manually syncing things and doing actions based on ticket activity and stuff like that, or relying on third-party service to monitor our ticketing queues and source repositories and tooling repositories. So that's about it for the Forge.Fedora project. Next for our feature is this Git, and aiming for source.fedoraproject.org. So this is the initiative. This is part of the initiative that we are currently starting. You may have read my blog post, and you may have been part of the discussion that we held at Flock 2025. The discussion was very lively, and there's a lot of things that we can do and we can improve, but there's a lot of things we need to do first, so we will be able to actually work on the new sources. And the first of them is to deploy it into a staging environment. So that's something we will be working in this quarter, and that's just it. We'll just replicate the deployment we have for the Forge, similar to sources, do some performance testing, import these Git repositories to be able to play with it, test the integrations, working with Packit. I think it was the GSOC this year that they produced a service that will allow us to integrate it into a Forgejo. So that's there. And first-class support for Conflux in a sense that we will allow you and us to build container images directly from the Forge based on your commits without needing to trigger anything externally, without connecting anywhere if you don't want to. So that's what we aim to support with the source deployment. And if I can ask you for the next slide. So this is the work we have ahead with the source deployment for us. What you see on the picture is a analysis that the team did a couple of years ago. These are all the integrations with this Git that we have in our infrastructure. Everything that we need to change and everything that we have the opportunity to rethink a bunch of our strategies. So that's something I would invite you to do, is to let's talk about it. There is a bunch of threads and discussions.fpo.org about the new Git, about the new Forge. So be part of it. If you see any of your part of the workflow as a packager, as a Fedora developer, as a documentation writer, if you see part of the workflow you don't like and you want to update, contact us, write it down, create a ticket for us, create a user story, what you would like to see what we are missing. And what we will be doing meanwhile is we'll be focusing on implementing a compatibility bridge, so we don't have to change all the integrations at once. We'll create a small API layer that will basically act as a translator for a couple of months until we are able to do all the changes across all the services and software that we can currently see. This will take time, which brings me to the next slide. And that's our roadmap. So as I mentioned in previous minutes, the migration process to the new Forge is ongoing. We have a team requesting new organizations. We have some teams already in the new Forge, including the team that's maintaining the Forge. And next quarter is probably the best quarter to migrate if you haven't yet. And please do so. Please contact us, create a ticket in the Fedora infrastructure for the migration, and go for it. That's the new Forge. As it goes for the new sources, we would like to get the staging deployment done till the end of this year. Ideally, with also some performance tests already executed. We are already working on development of some missing features. The Q2, Q3 of next year seem like a reasonable date for us to be able to achieve feature parity with sources.fpo, with the current sources.fpo. And hopefully, if everything goes okay, Fedora 45 will be built from the new sources.fedoraproject.org. So the only other thing I can say is please join us. You can show us the next slide. We have a metrics room. As I mentioned, we have a tracker in the new Forge. We have a tracker on Coldberg. We have a tracker in Pagure. Wherever you decide to reach out, reach out on discussions as well. And we will be more than happy to hear your feature requests, hear whatever feedback you have for us.
Thank you, folks, for joining.
Thank you for your attention.
All right. Well, I might keep my video off. Been hearing feedback that when my video is off, my audio is better. So that does bring us officially to the end of the release party. I know I just want to give some echoes to what was in the chat already, but I wanted to give some special kudos because I know the chat's going to go away, but we'll have this stream forever. So I just want to say a very special thanks to several people who contributed significantly behind the scenes. The community ops team is primarily responsible for putting together these Fedora release parties. Jeff and I get to be the face of a lot of things in Fedora, but one of the best parts of our jobs is that we get to work with so many amazing, passionate, and kind people who help make our community what it is and help us keep that drum beating release after release for over 2 decades. And events like this are totally a labor of love. And it's a dedication to all of you, the people who show up and help us build all the bits and the bytes, push the pixels, pen the technical docs, spread the word in local meetups and events, respond to bug reports, fight those really long package chain build challenges, and so much more. So thank you all for being a part of the special little thing that we call Fedora. And I do want to give some specific call outs to folks who carried a lot of weight for this event. First to Robert Wright for, in general, being the cat herder of the Fedora 43 release party, helping run the registration on pre-ticks and lots of other small things. Neil Hanlon for helping manage the recorded videos, running the event bot that invited people to the matrix, triaging a bunch of last minute stuff and some other small things. Jeff Spalletta here with me now for helping be the MC of the event and wrangle the speakers and help drum the enthusiasm for the party, among lots of other things. Sean McCants for also helping wrangle the speakers and organize the party schedule and doing lots of emails behind the scenes. And another one for Aoife Maloney, who, even though you aren't seeing her here today because she is out on maternity leave right now, she was the one who helped kick off the original planning for this party and made a lot of the first outreach to many of our speakers. And of course, a big kudos and thanks to all of our speakers that you've heard from today and for taking the time out to share their stories from the trenches of Fedora Linux 43 and actually bring some of this stuff out so people can know what we've been up to over the last 6 months. Another thanks to Emma. We have 2 Emmas, but the first Emma for the matrix moderation in general, part of helping keep our matrix channels safe and secure, including this release party matrix chat that we've used. Emma Kidney and Madeline Peck in general for being our resident Fedora designers who help with the brand and identity. But special kudos to Madeline Peck for all the help with the YouTube thumbnails and images and the thumbnails you haven't even seen yet for the future spliced recordings. There was a lot of stuff that all of these people had an extra big part to play. And if this sounds like something you would like to be a part of, please check out the Fedora Community Ops chat room or the team. You can find us on comops:fedoraproject.org is our matrix room, or you can find us on the Fedora Docs website, where we'll have all of the places you can find the comops team, including how you can get involved with future events such as this one. So I just had to do my little thank you reel, because normally we do that in the opening remarks, but I didn't have that in the opening remarks. So I have to make it as part of the closing remarks for today, because, that's honestly my favorite part of this event is when I get to just, let the credit reel roll and thank all of the folks who make working in a project like Fedora such a joy. So that's all from me. Jeff, do you want to officially close us out here for the day? And any final remarks before we wrap it up?
I think you did a very good job with that, Justin. I want to thank everybody who showed up, everyone who's helped, everyone who's contributed to this release. It is a big thing, and y'all are doing it really well. And I look forward to more of these. Every 6 months. Let's keep doing it.
All right. Well, thanks so much for everyone for being here once again. We're going to officially close out the stream. We'll keep the Matrix chat room open for a little bit. So if you want to socialize and chat in the room, you are welcome to. But eventually, we're going to go ahead and close that chat room out so you can make sure you jump into all of the other spaces where all the action happens in Fedora. So with that, thanks so much again for being here. Looking forward to going into Fedora Linux 44 with all of you, and we'll see you at the next one. Have a great weekend and a great rest of your week, folks.
Thank you.